Right now, at this very moment, you're one decision away from completely changing your life. But here's the terrifying part. You already know this. The gap between what you know and what you do is where your real power lives. And most people never step into it. You've felt it before. That moment when you're lying in bed and you know you should get up. You know you should work on your goals. You know you should push harder, dream bigger, become more. But something pulls you back. Something whispers that today isn't the day. Tomorrow will be better. You'll start next week. And so you stay. You stay in the comfortable place, the familiar place, the place where nothing changes and everything hurts slowly. The truth is, you're not broken. You're not lazy. You're not incapable. What's happening to you is that your mind has become undisciplined. Not because you're weak, but because nobody ever taught you that the mind is like a garden. If you don't tend to it, if you don't plant the right seeds and pull the weeds daily, it will grow wild and overgrown with everything you don't want. Doubt will climb like vines around your potential. Fear will spread like roots under your confidence. Distraction will become the only landscape you know, and you feel this chaos every single day. That voice in your head that creates 1,000 reasons why you can't, why you shouldn't, why it won't work anyway. That voice that makes you feel small in a world full of people who seem to have it figured out. That voice that whispers, who do you think you are to want more? You lie awake at night, feeling the weight of your own potential unused, like carrying a backpack full of gold up a mountain you never decided to climb. You watch other people succeed and feel that sting of regret, that voice that says, that could have been you, that should have been you. And maybe it should have, maybe it still can be. But every time you've tried before, something happened. You started strong, full of momentum and motivation, and then it faded, the fire burned out, the excitement wore off, reality set in, and the work felt harder than you expected, and you stopped. Not because you wanted to, but because your mind wasn't disciplined enough to carry you through the difficult part, the part where motivation disappears and only discipline remains. This is the crucial moment I need you to understand. Your feelings are valid, but they are not the truth. Your anxiety about the future doesn't mean the future is hopeless. Your doubt doesn't mean you're incapable. Your fear doesn't mean you should stay still. These are just emotions moving through you like weather moving through the sky. And here's what nobody tells you. You have the power to choose what you do with that weather. See, most people are waiting for the right circumstances before they change. They're waiting for motivation to strike like lightning. They're waiting for the fear to disappear before they take action. They're waiting for everything to be perfect before they begin. And they'll wait forever because that moment never comes. The mountain doesn't become less steep because you've waited longer. The storm doesn't pass because you've been afraid of it. The only thing that changes is that you become older and your regret becomes louder, but you're different. You're here listening to this because somewhere inside you, there's a part that refuses to accept mediocrity. There's a part that knows you're meant for more. That part might be small right now. It might be quiet because it's been ignored so many times, but it's there. And that part is about to become the most powerful force in your life. The discipline you're looking for isn't about being hard on yourself. It's not about suffering or punishment or becoming some robotic version of a person. Real discipline is something far more beautiful than that. It's love in action. It's deciding that you love yourself enough to keep your promises to yourself. It's waking up and thinking, I respect myself too much to let my mind run wild today. It's protecting your future self the way you'd protect someone you deeply care about. Think about it this way. Every single day, your mind is making bricks. Some of these bricks are solid and strong. They're built from focus, from choosing your thoughts carefully, from following through on what you said you'd do. These bricks create a foundation that's unshakable. But some bricks are weak. They're made of distraction, of broken promises to yourself, of listening to every doubt that passes through your mind. And over months and years, you're building a tower with these mixed bricks. Is it any wonder that it feels unstable? Discipline is about choosing to lay solid bricks day after day after day, even when nobody's watching, especially when nobody's watching. Because that's when the real work happens. Not on the stage, not when others are judging, but in the quiet moments when it's just you and your commitment to yourself. The reason most people fail isn't because they lack ability. They fail because they lack consistency. They run hard for a few weeks, then walk for a month. They push intensely, then collapse completely. This on and off pattern is what defeats them, not the difficulty of the goal itself. Success isn't about the intensity of your effort. It's about the reliability of your effort. It's about showing up on the day when nothing motivates you. It's about doing the work even when you're tired, even when you're not in the mood, even when you'd rather be anywhere else. And here's what's incredible about this. The moment you commit to this kind of discipline, something shifts. You stop being a victim of your circumstances. You stop waiting for permission or perfect timing or ideal conditions. You become someone who acts despite the conditions. You become someone who can be trusted by yourself first and then by the world. This is where real confidence comes from. Not from believing in yourself blindly, but from proving to yourself over and over again that you're someone who keeps their promises to themselves, to their dreams, to their future. This is the invisible gift of discipline. People see your success and they don't see the quiet mornings. They don't see the days when you worked even though you weren't feeling it. They don't see you resisting the easy path because you knew it wasn't the true path. They just see the results. And they think you got lucky, or you're naturally talented, or you had it easier. But you know the truth. You know what it cost. And that knowledge, that's the foundation of unshakable confidence. Now I want to talk about the conversation you have with yourself. This is the most important conversation of your life, and I need you to understand this deeply. You're talking to yourself literally all day long. A constant stream of commentary about whether you can or can't, whether you should or shouldn't, whether you're worthy or unworthy. And most people never take control of this conversation. They let it run on autopilot, driven by fear and past disappointment and inherited beliefs about what's possible for someone like them. But here's the thing, you can interrupt this conversation. You can choose different words. When you think, I can't do this, you can pause and say, I haven't done this yet, but I'm willing to learn. When you think, I'm not good enough, you can say, I'm growing, and I'm proud of the effort I'm making. This isn't about lying to yourself. This isn't about positive thinking that ignores reality. This is about being accurate. This is about telling yourself the truth instead of the worst possible interpretation of the truth. Your mind will believe what you tell it repeatedly. If you tell yourself you're weak, you'll act weak. If you tell yourself you're undisciplined, you'll remain undisciplined. If you tell yourself that people like you don't achieve big things, you'll subconsciously work to prove yourself right. This is the prison that most people live in, and they don't even realize they hold the keys. They built the walls themselves, brick by brick, through the story they kept telling about who they are. So the first act of discipline is to become aware of the story you're telling. What do you believe about your potential? What do you believe about your capacity to change? What do you believe about what's possible for your life? These beliefs are running your entire existence. They're determining which opportunities you pursue, which challenges you embrace, which dreams you allow yourself to consider. And if your beliefs are limited, your life will be limited no matter how hard you work. The discipline to examine these beliefs, to question them, to challenge them, to consciously choose new ones. This is where everything begins. Not in some motivational high, but in the honest, difficult work of looking at yourself and asking, is this belief serving me? Is this belief true? Am I ready to believe something bigger about myself? Let me tell you something that might feel uncomfortable. The life you want isn't waiting for you somewhere else. It's not hidden in a special place that only certain people are allowed to access. The life you want is built right here, right now, through thousands of small decisions that only you can make. Every time you choose to focus instead of distract, that's building the life you want. Every time you choose to push forward instead of give up, you're building it. Every time you keep your word to yourself when nobody would know if you broke it, you're building it. These invisible decisions are far more important than any grand gesture or sudden stroke of luck. Most people are looking for a shortcut, and I understand why. The long road is exhausting to think about. The idea that you have to show up day after day after day, year after year, doing things that might not feel like they're working yet, that feels impossible. So instead, people get caught chasing quick fixes, a new diet, a new program, a new motivational video, a new purchase, each one promising that this time it will be different. This time, you'll finally break through. But they never do, because the shortcut doesn't exist. The only path to genuine transformation is the path through consistent action over time. And here's the paradox. When you stop looking for shortcuts and accept the long road, it actually becomes shorter, because now you're not wasting energy on things that don't work. You're not starting over every week. You're building momentum. You're compounding. One day of discipline creates a foundation for the next day. 2 days creates a stronger foundation. 3 days, a week, a month, eventually you're standing on something solid. Eventually you're so high above where you started that you can't even see the ground anymore. But you have to reach that point. You have to get through the part where progress is invisible. where you're doing all the work and seeing none of the results yet. This is where most people quit. They're so close to the breakthrough and they quit because they can't see it yet. They're so close to the mountain peak and they turn back because the climb is steep. And this is so tragic because all they needed to do was keep going. Just keep going. This is where you need real discipline, not the motivation kind, the real kind, the kind that's rooted in commitment, not in feeling. Commitment says, I made a decision about my life, and I'm keeping that decision regardless of how I feel today. Commitment says, I am the type of person who does hard things, and this is just another hard thing. Commitment says, I trust myself enough to keep promises to myself even when it's difficult. When you operate from this kind of commitment, everything changes. You're no longer at the mercy of your moods and motivations. You're no longer held hostage by your circumstances. You're no longer waiting for the perfect time because you understand that you'll never feel perfectly ready. You start now. You start with what you have. You start from where you are. You start, and then you let the starting build momentum. Here's what I want you to do starting today. Tonight, before you sleep, I want you to write down 3 things you're committing to starting tomorrow. Not big things necessarily, small things. Things you can actually do. Maybe it's waking up 30 minutes earlier. Maybe it's doing one thing toward your biggest dream, even if it's just one small action. Maybe it's having one honest conversation you've been avoiding. Maybe it's reading one chapter of a book that will help you grow. Maybe it's sitting in silence for 10 minutes and listening to what your heart is actually telling you. Start small, but start with commitment. And then tomorrow, I want you to do exactly what you said you would do. Not because you feel like it, not because it's convenient, not because circumstances are perfect. I want you to do it because you said you would, and you respect yourself too much to break that promise. Feel the resistance, feel the doubt, feel the discomfort, and do it anyway, because this is where discipline is forged, not in comfort. In the fire of doing what matters when it's hard to do it, the second thing, start listening to the conversation in your head and consciously interrupt it when it's unhelpful. You'll notice you have thoughts like, I can't do this, or I'm not smart enough, or people like me don't succeed. When you notice this, pause and ask yourself, is this true? Is this actually factually true? Or is it just a fear disguised as truth? In most cases, it's fear. And once you recognize it as fear, you can choose not to believe it. You can say instead, I'm going to trust myself and try anyway. This simple shift in your internal dialogue will change the trajectory of your life. Not because positive thinking magically makes things happen, but because belief changes behavior, and behavior creates results. The third thing, protect your environment like it's sacred. This means being ruthless about who you spend time with, what you watch, what you listen to, what you allow into your mind. Your mind is like soil, and you're constantly being seeded by the inputs around you. If you're spending time with people who are negative, who doubt your dreams, who pull you down, that's what will grow. If you're consuming content that's designed to trigger outrage or envy or anxiety, that's what will grow. If you're listening to voices that tell you that success isn't for you, that's what will grow. But if you're deliberate about your inputs, if you're choosing sources of inspiration and growth, if you're surrounding yourself with people who believe in becoming better, then something different will grow. You have complete control over this, and most people never exercise it. The fourth thing, track your discipline. Not obsessively, but consciously. At the end of each day, ask yourself, did I keep my commitments today? Did I do the thing I said I would do? Write it down, not to shame yourself, but to build awareness. This simple act of tracking will transform you, because what gets measured gets managed. What gets tracked gets improved. You'll start to see patterns. You'll start to notice that on days when you're more disciplined in one area, you're more disciplined in everything. Discipline is like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it gets. The fifth thing, expect to fail sometimes. Not because you're not strong enough, but because you're human. You'll have days where you don't keep your commitments. You'll have moments when you fall back into old patterns. You'll have times when the resistance is so strong that you give in. This isn't a sign that you should quit. This is a sign that you're human. What matters is what you do next. Do you quit, or do you fail once and then get back up and recommit? Do you make a mistake a tragedy, or do you make it data? When you can fail without falling into shame and self-judgment, you're free. You're free to actually grow because you're not wasting energy on hating yourself for being imperfect. Now, I want to speak to something deeper. Beneath the discipline, beneath the habit, beneath the daily action, there's something else. There's meaning, there's purpose. The reason people give up isn't usually because the work is too hard. It's because they've disconnected from the why. They know what they want to achieve, but they've never connected with why it matters. Why does this matter to you? If you're successful, what becomes possible? Who do you become? How do you impact others? What legacy do you leave? This is the part that sustained people through the hard times. Viktor Frankl, who survived the concentration camps, discovered that those who survived weren't always the strongest or healthiest. They were the ones who had a reason to survive. They had meaning attached to their survival. You need the same thing with your goals. You can't sustain discipline without meaning. You can't push through the difficult part without knowing why you're pushing. So take some time to get really clear on this. Not in a surface way, but deeply. Why do you want to change? What does success look like? What becomes possible when you become the person who has discipline, who keeps promises to themselves, who follows through on their commitments? Paint the picture in your mind. Make it vivid. Make it real. Because this picture is what will pull you forward when motivation runs out. Here's something else that's critical to understand. Discipline isn't deprivation. It's not about saying no to everything enjoyable. That's a misunderstanding that keeps people from even trying. Real discipline includes pleasure. It includes rest. It includes things you enjoy, but it prioritizes these things deliberately. You're not saying, I will never enjoy anything. You're saying, I will enjoy things intentionally as a reward for keeping my commitments, as part of a balanced life where I'm taking care of myself while also pushing toward my goals. Think of discipline like a river. A river has banks. Without banks, water spreads everywhere and becomes stagnant. With banks, the water moves with power and direction and purpose. That's what discipline does. It creates banks for your life. It directs your energy toward what matters instead of letting it dissipate in 1,000 different directions. And within those banks, there's flow. There's freedom. There's an ease that comes from everything moving together toward one purpose instead of fighting against itself. You're going to face resistance. You already know this. The resistance will come in many forms. It will be your own doubt. It will be other people who feel threatened by your growth. It will be circumstances that seem to conspire against you. It will be the familiar comfort of staying the same. This resistance is not a sign that you're on the wrong path. This resistance is a sign that you're on the right path, because nothing worth doing is easy. Nothing worth having comes freely. Everything that matters requires you to push past the point where you want to quit, and this is where the real victory happens, not when you succeed, not when you reach your goal. The real victory happens in that moment when you want to quit so badly that your body aches with it and you choose to keep going anyway. That's when you become unbreakable. That's when you discover that you're capable of things you never believed you were capable of. That's when you look at yourself and realize that you're not the person you used to be. So I'm asking you to do something difficult. I'm asking you to decide right now that you're going to become the most disciplined version of yourself. Not perfect, disciplined, not always motivated, committed, not always confident, determined. I'm asking you to look at your life and decide which areas need this kind of focus, this kind of intentional action, this kind of sacred commitment. And then I'm asking you to start. Not tomorrow, not Monday, not when circumstances are better now. Today, what's one thing you can do today? What's one promise you can make to yourself and keep? Maybe it's getting up early. Maybe it's finally starting the project you've been thinking about. Maybe it's having the conversation you've been avoiding. Maybe it's spending an hour on the skill you want to develop. Maybe it's turning off your phone and spending time with people you love. Maybe it's doing something completely for yourself, something that feels like you're honoring yourself. Whatever it is, do it today and then do it tomorrow and the day after. Build the pattern, because this is how human beings transform, not through some magical moment. Through thousands of small decisions that compound into a completely different life. You're not going to become successful overnight. You're going to become successful through the daily discipline of becoming 1% better day after day, until one day you look back and you don't even recognize the person you used to be. That person will feel like someone else entirely. And the irony is that once you commit to this, once you really step into this level of discipline, something extraordinary happens. You stop feeling like you're forcing yourself to do things. You stop feeling like you're sacrificing, because now you're aligned. Your actions are in alignment with your values. Your daily habits are in alignment with your long-term vision. You're not fighting yourself anymore. You're partnering with yourself. You're on the same team as your own future. This is when life becomes easier, not because things are actually easier, but because you're not working against yourself anymore. You're not wasting energy on internal conflict. You're not draining yourself with doubt and shame and broken promises. All of that energy is freed up to do real work, real growth, real transformation. Think about what it will feel like when you've built this kind of discipline. Think about walking into a room knowing that you kept every promise you made to yourself this week. Think about the quiet confidence that comes from knowing that when you commit to something, you follow through. Think about the freedom of not being enslaved to your impulses, to your moods, to whatever temporary feeling is happening today. Think about what becomes possible when you're directing your life consciously instead of just reacting to it. This is available to you. Right now, you have access to this. It doesn't require special talent. It doesn't require special circumstances. It doesn't require permission. It just requires a decision. The kind of decision that changes everything. The kind of decision that your future self will be grateful for every single day. I won't lie to you and tell you it's going to be easy. There will be days when this feels impossible. There will be moments when you want to give up. There will be voices telling you that this is too much, that you're not strong enough, that it's okay to quit. And in those moments, I want you to remember this. The person who can keep going when it's hard, the person who can do the work when they don't feel like it, the person who can trust themselves to follow through, that person becomes unstoppable. That person becomes the architect of their own life instead of a victim of circumstance. Your life is not fixed. Your future is not predetermined. The person you become is entirely within your control. The only question is whether you're willing to do what it takes to get there. Whether you're willing to feel uncomfortable in service of your own growth, whether you're willing to keep promises to yourself even when nobody's watching, whether you're willing to be disciplined when you don't feel like it, to push forward when you're afraid, to believe in yourself when doubt whispers loudly. This is the moment. This is the moment where everything can change. Not because something external has shifted, but because you've made a decision that everything inside of you is going to shift. You're going to take control of your mind. You're going to direct your thoughts instead of being directed by them. You're going to make decisions based on your values instead of your impulses. You're going to keep promises to yourself. You're going to build discipline like you'd build anything valuable, brick by brick, day by day, commitment by commitment. And when you do this, when you really commit to this, the world is going to respond, not because you're suddenly perfect, but because you're suddenly aligned. You're suddenly operating from a place of integrity with yourself. You're suddenly someone who can be trusted. You're suddenly someone who believes in their own potential enough to back it up with action. People are going to feel this. Doors are going to open. Opportunities are going to appear, not because you're lucky, but because you're ready. You're ready because you've done the work. So here's what I want you to do. Finish listening to this, and then don't just think about what I've said. Do something. Take action. The power isn't in listening to this speech. The power is in what you do next. The power is in the decision you make and the promise you keep. The power is in the discipline you build starting from this moment. You have everything you need. You're stronger than you think. You're more capable than you believe. You're closer to your breakthrough than you realize. The only thing between you and the life you want is the decision to become the person who's willing to do what it takes to get there. Not someday, not eventually, now. So I'm asking you one more time, are you ready? Are you ready to take control of your mind? Are you ready to become disciplined? Are you ready to keep promises to yourself? Are you ready to build the life you're dreaming about, brick by brick, day by day? If the answer is yes, then start now, not tomorrow, not Monday. Now, today, this hour, this moment, you've already felt its stirrings inside you, that voice that knows you're meant for more, that part of you that refuses to settle, that fire that's been burning even when you tried to ignore it. That's the real you. That's the you that's about to transform. That's the you that's about to discover what happens when you finally decide that you're worth the effort. Your mind is about to become your greatest ally instead of your greatest enemy. Your discipline is going to become your superpower. Your consistency is going to become your competitive advantage. And your life is going to become a testament to what's possible when one person decides that they're no longer going to accept less than their potential. This is your moment. This is your life. And it's waiting for you to finally step into it with full commitment, full discipline, and full belief in who you're capable of becoming. So go, do it. Build the life you've been dreaming about. The world is waiting for the person you're about to become.